Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and we have a lot to talk about with the Twosun Ts380. Now, this knife is a robust yet slicing knife, and that's kind of the beauty of this knife. This is the kind of knife you could literally just stab into a table and not have to worry about breaking the tip. You can absolutely, in my opinion, I'm not telling you what to do, but in my opinion, you could definitely use this one for light duty prying. However, it's also nice and thin behind the edge, especially in this area for slicing. And then coupled with the amazing ergos this thing has, it's super comfortable in the hand, so you have a lot of leverage into your cuts. Now, we'll get more into that here in a second, but we have 14C28N blade steel that is nice and stone washed. They did not put that satin finish on it. I'm very happy about that. Then we have a carbon fiber overlay that is very well done. I love how you can see all the fibers in it. Really, really nice. On top of a titanium frame lock. And I would call this a titanium frame lock, not a liner lock. It just has an overlay. But because of that overlay, it makes it where it's going to be very easy for lefties to use. We have a titanium milled clip and a full back spacer, which is adds to the strength, the durability, and it stops things from getting back there and hitting your edge while it's in your pocket. Now, since it has these carbon fiber overlays, lefties can easily use this, meaning with the reverse flick, because you're not going to be locking yourself out by putting pressure on the lock bar. So very easy to reverse flick this one with a left hand. So that is an awesome thing. But when you're squeezing it, because your fingers wrap around right here, you're still going to put pressure on the lock bar, so you're still going to get that durability and strength that you want from a titanium frame lock, because when you squeeze a frame lock, you make it stronger, right? So let's talk about the action, and then we'll get into the cutting and how awesome this thing is and kind of the category I fit this thing into. So the flipper tab, it could be up a little bit higher, but it's still higher than the center of the pivot. The detent it's good. It's really nice. I wish it was a slight bit stronger on the flipper tab. Now, I can tune that. I have not, I can strengthen that if I want to, but it is still very reliable. But I can absolutely fail it if I want to. But I would only fail it trying. Like when I take it out of my pocket and put it in the action, there's no way I'm going to fail it. It is very reliable, very easy to flip. The flipper tab is nice and comfortable. You have good jimping on it. Very easy for the light switch, and you can push button it. You just got to push on that corner, but you can absolutely push button it. Then you have the hole. The hole, great access to the hole. Very easy to reverse flick, whether you're on the top of the hole or on the bottom. You do get more leverage on the bottom, but it equally is good. Very good reverse flicking action. And then you can also thumb flick it, which the thumb flick on this one is also really good. A lot of times the hole is only good for the reverse flick and not the thumb flick. This one's good for both. Now, when you unlock it, the lock bar, great access to the lock bar. It's not that it's cut out for access, but they give you plenty of room. The blade is nice and thick, and they chamfered both sides, so it's very easy to disengage. And then the detent ball is right there, which it's not crazy early, but it's early enough that you're past it. So you don't have to worry about fumbling around on the detent ball. And when you drop it, it is a drop shut action. Now, it didn't come drop shut. It did take about 2 days to drop shut. And I did take it apart and clean it, so that definitely increased it. Very, very smooth. And it is a nice slow drop. It is basically centered, maybe a little tiny bit off, but I've been using and cutting and stabbing it into things. So it's centered when you have it centered. Now, talking about the ergos now, man, these ergos melt in your hand. They absolutely melt in your hand. Very, very comfortable. And I can go over the flipper tab if I want to for really strong push cuts, or like if I'm gritting into some wood, to make a swedge in some wood or whatever. But even back here, the jimping, nice long jimping. So you have good leverage here. Very, very comfortable in the hand. Lots of force, lots of pressure. Now, the geometry. Now, the sliciest point, and if you look you can see how it's a little thicker here, then it gets thinner, and then it goes back to thicker here. So from here to here, it's nice and slicey, very thin. Directly behind the edge, I measured it at 15 thousandths right there. Now it does get a little bit more robust up here at the tip, and it is slightly thicker. However, even though it is nice and slicey, the geometry gets thick pretty quick. It does have a robust blade stock, a robust tip. Now this tip, in my opinion, you are not going to have to worry about breaking it. One, because of how they bring the thickness down nice and slow to the tip. But two, you have a nice broad blade. It's very tall right here. So you have a lot of steel around the tip area. So you're not going to have to worry about really breaking this tip. It's going to be very, very strong. And the belly is nice and strong right in this area too. So if you did have to poke this into something and then use the spine of it maybe to pry something up, you could absolutely do that without, you know, hurting too much. And 14C28N is a very tough steel. But the cutting performance of going through things, it is nice and slicey. You can tell that it is a little bit more robust, so you're going to get a little bit more drag than obviously you would get with a very thin blade stock. However, it cuts really, really well. I had no problems working with this thing. I had no problems breaking down cardboard. I had no problems basically doing anything. It's not going to be the best apple slicer, but you can do it. You can absolutely cut an apple with it. It's just not going to give you the thinnest slices, right? But for most stuff, it's going to be really good. And a lot of the times, I've been carrying this with other knives. We'll talk about that in a second, right after we talk about the utility cuts. The utility cuts, not the best. Because of it being, well, let me be clear. So the blade shape is really good for utility cuts. You have good leverage into your utility cut. Nice teardrop shape right here, so it's very comfortable in your hand. You get a lot of pressure, and it works. It does work. You can do utility cuts with it. I'm not saying you can't, but compared to a knife that is very thin at the tip and has a nice acute tip, something that's not going to be as strong, that is definitely going to do better utility cuts. You just have a little bit too much belly, so you have to raise up just a little bit too high, and the tip is just a little too robust. So not the best for utility cuts. However, you can get by. It can do it. I always carry two knives. So this is kind of almost like a perfect EDC, carrying something like this, something more robust, something for more, knocking all the hard stuff out and the hard duty cutting. And then in my Real Man, Real Leather EDC organizer, I carry my flashlight, my pen, and then a light duty knife. Something that, I can do the lighter task. The CIVIVI bow has been a great, great asset to my knife collection. I really like this knife, man. This knife is awesome. Very slicey, very snappy. The detent is so well tuned, and I like how it has that aged look to it. Now, before I got this, because I just recently got this, that's another reason why I've been testing it. This is the copper Olight with my Force patina and a titanium pen from Twosun. But I would have carried, something like the CIVIVI Elementum. These two would go perfect together. Or even something like the Ash or Spyro full tie. Nice and slicey, good for utility cuts. This is a great primary and secondary, just a great all-around knife. But there's, tasks are never really too small for this, if that makes sense. Kind of like I was saying with the CIVIVI bow, there's just nothing too small for it, so it works good for the smaller tasks. Where carrying this, which is going to be great for the tough stuff, is maybe not going to be so good for the dainty stuff, the little stuff, pulling out a string or something, or, you know what I mean? It's just not for that type of stuff. It is for harder use. Now, clip and carry. The clip, great clip, man. This clip works fantastic. I'm very happy with the clip. I'm also happy because this is a designer I never used before. So since I'm using this designer's design for the first time, I'm excited that they did a good clip. So the clip works great in and out of the pocket. No issues with it. No issues with it in the hand. Yeah, carries great. Awesome clip. Happy to see it. And to be honest, I did overpay a lot. Not saying that this knife isn't worth what I paid, but I could have gotten it for much less if I would have just used one of the links or my Amazon affiliate link that I put down in the description. If I would have just used Amazon instead of eBay, because on eBay I had to bid for it and I wanted to win it and I won it, but I overpaid, not knowing that I could have gotten it for much, much less. So if you guys do want to pick one of these up, I have the links down in the description for you to get it for a great price. No milling on the inside. The inside is just hard, just, you know, solid pieces of titanium. I like that. We do have a lock bar insert. You can see the screw hole right there, and if I unlock it, you can see the detent and the lock bar insert. So that's very cool. And then the carbon fiber acts as an over travel stop. Ceramic caged bearings, the same ones that they use all the time. The plastic caged ceramic bearings, I think those are amazing, amazing bearings. Twosun does. They've been ahead of times. Let's just put it that way. They've been ahead of times because their bearings are as good as anybody's. You know, it's just they make some of the best bearings. Ceramic caged bearings in plastic. So you're not going to have to worry about the plastic. It's not going to be hurt by the environment or anything like that. And they work really good. Now, it also has, you know, the track, the washer with a groove around it. So the bearings can roll around that. Now, some of the bad things, or you know, let's talk about the sharpening, then we'll talk about the bad things. So, sharpening it. I don't remember if I filmed any of the sharpening, but sharpened up fantastic. This thing feels really good across the stone. The steel felt good. It's 14C 28N. Twosun does a good job with their 14C. Sharpened up really good. Now, I might lay back the edge back a little bit farther. I really only tuned... I did a full sharpening, but I didn't go past many stones. I just basically wanted to get a nice good edge on it because, I'll be honest, it did get dull pretty quick. It came with a good edge, but it went dull pretty quick. So, maybe it was a burnt edge, maybe not. I don't know, but it went dull pretty quick. So, I did sharpen it up, you know. And let me be clear, though, I was doing a lot of stupid stuff with this thing. So, maybe it didn't go dull quick. Maybe it was me. Because I was chopping things with this. I was doing all kinds of stupid stuff. So, it did go dull, and I sharpened it up. Felt good on the stone. Now, it is, like I said, a little bit thicker here and then thicker here to the tip. So this is a little bit thinner of an area. So you might notice that the edge is bigger on, you know, towards the tip and towards the plunge grind, but it gets a little thinner in this flat area, which works out for slicing, but you're going to notice a little tiny bit of a wave basically in your edge. Not a big deal. And it was an easy to sharpen, easy blade shape. Just everything about it, the shape, the steel, the grind of being able to hold it really good going across the stone, all those things combined, because even in the pinch grips, this thing is nice and comfortable. So great sharpening, and it took a ridiculously sharp edge, a very, very sharp edge. Like I said, I will be probably laying back the edge just a little bit farther though. Now, but maybe not, you know, I don't know, because it does slice really good already. And it will increase the toughness by me leaving it the angle it is. Right now, it's between 17 and 20 degrees per side. I'm not positive exactly the angle, but it's between there. Now, if I lay it back farther, yes, it will slice a lot better, but it won't be as tough. And this is kind of a tough knife for me. This is almost like a perfect hard use knife because you're still getting slicing and cutting performance while also getting the hard use. The lockup is super solid. I mean, this thing is a vault. It's very, very tough. Now, getting to some of the negative things really quick. So one thing with T6s, why the heck did they put T6s on this? Twosun always uses T8s. You know, they make a design that's like one of my favorite designs, and they have to put T6s. Now, that drives me nuts. I can't believe they did that. But I'm getting over it, and no, there's not T8s underneath the carbon fiber. That is the two body screws that go into the back spacer to the other side. So you have three forms of hardware. You have the pivot, and then these two screws, and then the clip is secondary, so you don't need to take out the clip when you take it apart. All right, next thing. The detent on the flipper tab could be a little bit stronger. Not much, but just a little bit. Now, the thing is, though, is I'm not sure if you increased it. I like the flipper tab, and I don't know how to put this into words, but I kind of wish it was a little bit of a different shape in a way. I wish it was kind of like up a little bit higher, maybe angled a little bit, if that makes sense, but I know it wouldn't work that way. Well, if it angled down, no, it wouldn't work. I mean, even if it angled down a little bit right there at an angle right here like this, I don't know. It's hard to say without testing the theory, but it works just fine. I just kind of wish it was a little bit stronger, just a little bit. And I can always increase that, but I just worry about the shape of the flipper tab on if it'll receive it nicely. Next thing, the deployment hole. The deployment hole works just fine, but if you look, they had an opportunity to make it even bigger. I don't know why they didn't cut that out. They could have just cut that out, and then it would make for even better access to the deployment. I mean, it works just fine, but you usually want to get as much access as possible. And in this case, they left metal there instead of just cutting it out. So I do kind of wish they would have just cut that out. I almost thought about cutting that out myself. I might do that. I might just cut that little part out right there. I don't know why they wouldn't just do that. It would relieve weight and you'd have even more access to the deployment, but whatever. I am happy with the plunge grind. The plunge grind is great. Plunge grind goes from here to here. No complaints on the plunge grind. Very happy with that. The only other real negative thing would be is that, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to say, internal stop pins. Internal stop pins, I'm really happy with that. It will add to the side-to-side strength. I'm very, very happy to see that. So no problems back here. You're not touching the edge or nothing, and they don't have the stop pin in the way or anything. And if you did want to put a bigger choil on this, you absolutely could. You could put a full finger choil on this if you wanted to. So happy with all that stuff. Now, the blade stock is very robust, and the tip is very robust. Now, I do kind of wish this had a hollow grind, I'll be honest. I love how robust it is. I love how tough this knife is, and I understand the role it's trying to play. And they knocked it out of the park. I would love to have another one of these, because I don't want to change it because I love the way it is, but I'd love to have another one of these with a hollow grind, where it's just a mean looking slicer, where this tip is nice and fine. Now, a knife the same size, the TS223, this is a great example of a hard use cutter, where it has amazing geometry, full flat grind, nice and thin behind the edge, very thin behind the edge, very good tip for utility cuts, and just an all-around great slicer. This thing is a slicing beast while still being right around the same size, and same everything, ergos, just it's just great. So this is a great option if you like this knife but you want it to be a little more slicier. However, it wouldn't be too much, to just go send it out to get a regrind, which I don't know. I might do, but I might not, because I love it. And I love having that robustness mixed with the sliciness. But then again, I would love to be able to do a good utility cut and have a little bit better cutting performance. I don't know. It's hard when you get a knife that you love so much and you love the great things about it and why it is the way it is, but then you also, on the other hand, kind of wish you had a couple other little details, like like I said, with the hollow grind and stuff. Now, there you guys go. There's the review. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. All the links will be below. Peace.